Thank you very much indeed. Name sounds much better with a Spanish accent. It's very nice to hear it said like that, so thank you for that. So, what I wanted to do this afternoon was talk a little bit about the medium that I work in, which is outdoor or out of home, which is the oldest medium of them all. The outdoor medium has been around literally for hundreds and hundreds of years. The ancient Romans, the Egyptians used to put bits of paper to advertise back in the early part of the first millennium. So we've been a medium that's been around for a very, very long time, but we are also a medium that is currently going through the most significant change. And it's really that change, that transformation, if you like, that I want to talk about today. I want to talk about a medium that is now truly a smart medium, and a medium that I think is now demanding really smart creative to go with it. So that's really what I want to talk about. And it's a medium that we now call the kings of the street, because we are out there in the public space. And in a world of media which is becoming ever more fragmented, and where people have less and less attention that they're prepared to devote to advertising and communication, being out there in the public space is actually a very important thing indeed. Why is it important? Well, I think probably more than anything else, because it enables us to reach the right target. For all advertisers, for all of us in the broader world of communications, reaching our target, reaching the right audience is absolutely critical. And particularly, more and more advertisers are wanting to reach young people, reach millennials, and they are particularly difficult to reach. I think we all know that. One of the things that I think has most dramatically changed in the last years is the fact that we used to believe that technology would create what people back at the end of the last centuries, in the 1990s, people talked about the connected home, the connected household. And people envisaged a future where we would all be at home staring at our screens and never leaving, because we could get everything we wanted from within the home. But actually the future was very, very different. Actually the future was not about the connected home, it was about the connected consumer, the consumer who was always on. And that consumer is spending more and more time out of home, which suits us very nicely indeed. More importantly, perhaps, we reach consumers when they are truly receptive to advertising. I don't know how many of you have studied the psychology of advertising and have really spent time thinking about how does advertising actually work? I'm sure you all have. You couldn't really work in this industry if you haven't thought a bit about how does advertising work. And one of the fundamentals to me, one of the fundamentals has always been the question of how do you actually get the consumer's attention? And if you think about it, most advertising works on an interruptive model. It interrupts the consumer when the consumer would probably prefer to be doing something else. Television advertising interrupts the program with the advertising. It is actually something that is generally irritating to the consumer, which is why, if they have the chance with a fast forward button, having recorded it on some device, they will fast forward over the advertising. Ad skipping is becoming a huge issue. Even print advertising interrupts you when you'd rather be reading the article. You turn over the page to get back to the news that you were reading rather than spend time looking at the advertising. It is interruptive. Our medium, out of home, actually reaches the consumer when they have very little else to do, when they're waiting for a bus, when they're waiting for a train, when they're stuck in a traffic jam. And there are plenty of traffic jams around the world now for the consumer to be stuck in. So we probably have a more receptive audience than any other medium, I would argue. The other thing I would say, just to make a cheap competitive point, is it's very difficult to ad block an outdoor advertisement. We are there in the street. This is on a bus, but whether you're on a bus or on a billboard, you can't block it out. It's just there. And I think that is a fundamentally important thing. So we're building and delivering big, bold, powerful messages in the outdoor space. Beautiful, great, creative canvas, which for years, I think, the very best art directors, the very best writers in our industry have always felt that out of home was in a way the purest form of advertising. When I used to work in ad agencies, and I spent most of my career in creative ad agencies, we always used to say, if you can distill the advertising idea onto a poster, you know you've got a very pure, a very simple, a very powerful message. And that again is why we love our medium. It's why one of my favorite advertising campaigns of the last few years was this one from Apple, the Global Gallery campaign, shot on iPhone, which won the Grand Prix at Cannes a couple of years ago, because it's just a powerful, compelling image at scale, which says so much about the brand and creates that emotional resonance with the brand that I don't think other media can do. There's something about the confidence, the pride that a brand shows when it advertises in public that is very, very different from using a one-to-one medium. I think it's why the internet has been such a bad medium for creating brands. It's a great medium for one-to-one contact, for transaction, but if you want to build an emotional relationship, you need to do it in public. We talk about the power of the public promise. There's a great deal of difference to making a promise in private to do it in public when you know that lots of other people are seeing it. It's why people tend to get married in front of 100 other people to kind of hold them accountable rather than getting married in private. And I think it's the same for brands. Brands do this, they're saying something very public and something very proud. And outdoor, of course, has a number of different roles it can fulfill in the advertising mix. It can drive footfall, as this very nice campaign on the left for McDonald's does. It can build great brands, as I was just talking about, and it can also be the last moment of truth before the shopping decision is made and drive brand choice in the retail environment. So we're a very flexible medium. So I think it is, for all of those reasons put together, that we have outgrown all other traditional media over the last 5 years. I'm not sure if you can see or understand those little signs underneath those arrows. I spent some time working out what they meant, but apparently the one on the left is television. So television's grown around 2%. This is globally over the last 5 years. That's a little radio set. Radio's grown around 3% across the world. No prizes for guessing what the big decline is. That's print. And then there's outdoor, which has grown 5%. But what is even more important to us in our medium is that we are the only one of those media whose future is actually brighter than its past. We're the only one where all of the growth predictions are incredibly positive. And there is one very simple, well, there are a few reasons for that. So let me just talk about one of them, which is that more and more people, as I said earlier, are spending more and more time out of home. 20% more time out of home than 10 years ago. 75% of Europe's citizens live in cities. That kind of suits a medium that is at the heart of all cities. But then there's something else. Then there's the big, big change that is happening for our medium, the real reason why I wanted to talk to you today, which is that our future is a digital one. So I have this extraordinary thing in our business that there are people who've been in my business for 10, 15, 20 years, and they joined a billboard company. They joined a business that was all about sticking paper onto bits of board. Today, we are a technology company. And that transition, where in some markets now more than half of our revenue is coming from digital screens, that creates a very, very different business and a very, very different business opportunity. If we talk to agencies, talk to clients about digital out of home, there are a number of different things that they will say. They will all agree that it's likely to grow very, very fast over the next few years. They will talk about it being dynamic, that you can constantly change the copy. When I grew up in advertising agencies, out of home was the longest lead time medium. You had to plan 4, maybe 6 months in advance because you had to book the billboards, you had to design the advertising, you had to print it, you had to get the paper distributed, you had to have the guys in the vans with the ladders and the buckets of paste. And it was a very long planning process. Today, that is not the case. We could get you a campaign on our screens tomorrow. Literally, ask us, we could do it. It's a modern campaign, it's a modern advertising medium, it's seen as contemporary, the images are strong and vibrant, it's an exciting medium, and also it's a very versatile medium. You can do lots of different things. And I think what's so interesting about it, when I talk to people about digital, and I was talking to some of you earlier today as we were having lunch, there are so many different reasons why people choose to take advantage of what digital out of home can do. There is the immediacy, the fact that you can decide to advertise in the next few days. There is the fact that you can change the copy at different times of day. You can reach a particular audience in the morning, you can reach another audience in the evening. So in that sense, it's perhaps more like television in terms of being able to day part it. But then there's the fact that you can change the message according to a particular weather that you may be having. If the sun is shining or if it's raining, you can change the message. And you can respond to traffic and the way the traffic is behaving. You can be interactive. You can be truly dynamic. And I want to show you some different examples that exploit that creatively in different ways. Because there is no one silver bullet value proposition for digital out of home. There are lots of different reasons why it can be so very attractive. But it is for all of those reasons that we say our future is digital. That's the way we see our medium changing. And if I look at our business, CCI, Clear Channel International, over the next 5 years, we're predicted to grow 12, 15%, something like that every year. And there aren't many media that are predicting that kind of growth. So that's why we are truly excited about it. It's also why we've placed some very big bets. We've placed some very, very big bets here in Spain, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to come today, in winning the major contract in Madrid, where we're rolling out 300 digital screens across the city of Madrid to create a true digital network. We are placing a bet not just on digital, but also on our belief in the growth in the Spanish economy and the growth in the Spanish advertising market. We are hugely optimistic about the way in which this market is going to grow. Same in Barcelona, same all over this country. There are some fantastic opportunities. So let's talk about some of those opportunities and some of the ways in which outdoor advertising can work. First of all, I would say it can be part of the social media revolution. We are very much part of that revolution and can play with the social media generations. We can be highly creative. We can be utterly interactive with touchscreen and other ways of involving consumers. And we can certainly be extremely smart. So let me show you some examples of social and the way in which our media can be part of that social media revolution, working with Twitter or with Facebook or with Snapchat or with Google, and see how that works. Take a look at this campaign. Take a look at this campaign, which uses Snapchat and virtual reality, uses Snapchat particularly effectively, I think. A really nice campaign idea for Lay's. So let's just let that video run. I really like that because it's genuinely scalable and it is truly engaging. And I think we all know that one of the biggest challenges for marketeers these days is to get that consumer engagement, to get that sense of real involvement with the brand that is really very often the difference between success and failure in advertising and delivering growth. And I think that campaign absolutely delivers on that and delivers it very effectively. So we talk about being smart. What do we mean by that? What are we trying to get at when we talk about being smart? I think it's just about using technology in a way which is genuinely consumer relevant, because an awful lot of technological applications are not actually consumer relevant. I think when you're smart, you make it relevant. You use things like real time, the ability to change advertising real time. You use things like technology's ability to be truly measurable, to make the advertising accountable. And our medium, my medium, has sometimes suffered in the past by not being properly accountable. I think technology makes it at least as accountable as any other medium, and sometimes more so. Using big data, one of those great kind of myths of our current world. How do you use data? How do you make data truly valuable? We can do that. Being targeted, being contextual, which is incredibly important. Again, if you're thinking about engagement, if you manage to make the advertising part of its context, part of its environment, you massively increase the level of memorability and the level of engagement than if it's just a general open idea. And flexibility is a key part of smartness, in my view. So this is actually a couple of years old, but I think it's still highly relevant because I think it uses creativity in a way which exploits some of the real values that digital out-of-home can deliver to advertisers. So take a look at this one.
With Oreo struggling to connect with UK biscuit buyers the way it does in the US, we saw the March 2015 solar eclipse as an opportunity to put Oreo at the centre of a talked-about UK cultural moment. We started the day with Oreo quite literally eclipsing the sun. covering the all-important front page of 2 million copies of Britain's biggest-selling newspaper with its first ever translucent cover wrap. This was also accompanied inside the paper by 2 more specially made translucent Oreo Eclipse ads. Across the 2-hour duration of the eclipse, we then used specially created digital outdoor sites to recreate the eclipse happening in the sky above them. We achieved this by using real-time Royal Astronomical Society data to mirror the minute-by-minute timings and trajectory of the sun and moon on the screens, no matter where in the UK the sites were. Finally, to make sure our eclipse lasted longer than the real thing, all of the sites were filmed on time-lapse video and distributed as 10-second films through Facebook and promoted tweets within an hour of the eclipse's completion. By joining up and amplifying print, outdoor and online, we ensured that 20 million people saw our Oreo eclipse in just one day. With the UK weather having done its best to spoil things, for many people, the Oreo eclipse was the only one they enjoyed on March the 20th. Some were even inspired enough to recreate their own. Year-on-year sales rose 59% in the week following the Oreo eclipse. And March 2015 went on to become Oreo's biggest ever sales month in the UK. By giving the UK the eclipse that Mother Nature denied them, we've made Oreo the star of the celestial event of the decade.
I think it's a really nice, simple idea, and again, very, very engaging. What I love about that video is it doesn't really point out as clearly as it could do that the whole campaign idea was based on the eclipse of the sun, when the sun gets covered up by the moon. And unfortunately, it was a classic British weather day where it was so cloudy you couldn't actually see the sun. It was a bit like Bilbao today. So the campaign, in a sense, didn't work in the way it was intended, but they actually managed by using social media to amplify it and to make it really effective and memorable. And I think, again, it used digital outdoor in a really effective way. I'm not going to show it because I feel it's been shown so often, but the British Airways, the little boy pointing at the plane as it goes overhead, that again is another example of using the technology that we have now in out-of-home in a highly effective and distinctive and smart way. If you haven't seen that British Airways ad, I do suggest it's worth just having a look at it on YouTube, where 1.5 million people have viewed it on YouTube. It is just a great example of what you can do with our medium. Here's one, though, for Skoda cars, which again uses context, uses contextualization to make the advertising so much more relevant, so much more impactful, and I would say so much more engaging than it might otherwise have been. Have a look at this one. So what we're doing there is using real-time traffic data to tell people how long it's going to get from where they are now to any particular specific destination. Again, very engaging and very real. And what I would say to you, and I know there are many hugely creative people sitting in this audience, is as you look at these and think about them, don't think about the specific application that we're showing here. Think about what you might be able to do. Dare to dream about what might be possible, and then come and talk to us, talk to your agency about how you might make that happen. Because one of the things that I think is so exciting about where we are in this medium is that the opportunities are almost limitless. These are just some examples. I could have chosen 20 other examples. You can all find your own examples of what you can do. But we are at the birth of a new medium. And when you're at the birth of a new medium, you need to think about what you can do. What are the possibilities? I was saying to someone earlier, if you look back at when television advertising started, and all of you are far too young to remember when television advertising started, but if you go back and look at it, and look at what the early TV advertising was like, it's a joke, because nobody knew what to do with this new medium. Nobody knew how to make it into something. The stories people tried to tell were far too complicated. They either tried to run mini versions of a film, or they actually just put a press ad up with some music over it. Nobody actually understood some of the things that we've learnt over the years about how to make powerful TV commercials. Exactly the same is true with digital out of home. We are in a learning process. We at Clear Channel, we're very proud to be part of this festival. We are very proud to be part of the Cannes Lions Festival, which we've sponsored for the last 8 years. Over the last few years, they've had a digital out of home category. 2 years ago, they didn't award a Grand Prix in the digital out-of-home category because the judges just didn't feel the work was good enough. And I can understand why, because I think sometimes creatively, we still haven't really thought about what are the great things that we can do with this medium. And that's a challenge I would kind of throw out to you and to say, think about it. But here is a truly great example, and an example of a client and an agency who really did think creatively. This is for Kenzo. It's a campaign we're proud to have been part of here in Spain. And this uses the weather and uses weather-dependent technology to create something very distinctive. I think that's really nice. I think like all great advertising, it's a simple idea which then uses the technology, uses what we can do to make it even more compelling and even more powerful. Let's talk now for a bit about interactivity. Interactivity, I think, is again one of those phrases that people use without being quite sure what they really mean. I'll tell you what I mean by it. I mean producing advertising that uses the technology to involve the consumer in a way which would be unthinkable in a purely analog or static world. And that's what these examples are about. They're about saying, how do you create a more involving, more interactive experience that becomes, in the process, a truly unforgettable piece of brand communications? So whether that's using, as we say here, using gesture, using speech, using touch screens, using gamification, whether that's using augmented reality or virtual reality, I don't really mind. What I mind about is that we have a great, simple, strong, creative idea that technology brings to life in a new and different way. And this is I think this is a really fun one from Norway. Where the technology here is not that complicated, but the level of consumer engagement, I think, is phenomenal. And this, like a number of things that I've shown, this is something that not only was successful in our medium, but then was amplified massively on social media on YouTube, and in many other digital media. So take a look at this for Norwegian Airlines.
So this is the 360 camera we'll be using today. Right now we're going to start the mounting. Through this setup, we are providing an interactive virtual tour for the viewers in Oslo as they drive around the streets of New York.
Okay, so let's go. We're live. All right?
How you guys doing? I'm Dante. Hop in the Norwegian Red Cab with me, and we're gonna check out New York City. Let's go.
Miss, in the jacket there, hello.
Everybody's got a jacket on.
Hello, miss.
White jacket. Hello there. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
What is this?
And that screen that's there in front of you, you can control the camera on the roof.
And we're right now driving uptown.
We're going up Park Avenue. Yeah, there's Carnegie Hall to the left. Can you see that?
All right.
Hey guys, what's up? I was wondering when you were
Gonna get here. Did you know that
There's over 8 million people that live in New York City.
Never been to New York.
So you guys are gonna come visit New York soon?
Yeah. Sounds like a good idea.
Well, when you
Come, make sure you fly Norwegian Airlines, okay? So we're in the neighborhood known as Chelsea
Nicholson.
now, right?
Isn't this Chelsea?
Hi. How are you ladies doing?
We're fine, thank you.
You caught me on my breakfast
Breakfast break. I'm about to go grab a bagel
and
and
a coffee.
All right, what do we got here?
everything bagel with cream cheese. Hello, Oslo. Hello.
Hello.
Long skirt.
No, they're leaving.
All right, guys, so that concludes our trip around New York. It's been a pleasure showing you around. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I hope to see you soon.
The impact that had, the way that was talked about, the way that was picked up by local radio stations in Oslo, right across Norway, the way in which it just made Norwegian Airlines famous, I think was truly remarkable. Yes, you could say it's a stunt, but I think it's a scalable stunt and one which actually had very significant impact and used our medium again in the public space in a way which created a massive impact beyond what anyone could have done even 5 years ago. Here's another one from France, for Canal Plus, for Télétoon, which is, again, another great example.
Bienvenue chez moi.
So again, using technology, using VR, using the fact that in those shopping malls we reach a very difficult to reach audience and can deliver the attention of that audience through using those technologies. And I think there are a number of lessons there that one can think about and apply to other opportunities. This one uses a similar technology to the Norwegian Airlines, but actually uses the mechanic, in a sense, of direct response as well as brand building. Have a look at this.
Guten Morgen. Allegra. Willkommen im Bündnerland. Ja, guten Tag, schöne Frau. Guten Morgen.
Morgen, Bro.
Hey, Allegra. Ich kurz Zeit. Ja, du. Hallo. Darf ich einladen?
Ja, privat.
Nummer 2 da, Freund. Einladen, das Billett draussen.
Okay.
Oh, jetzt ist es gut.
Ja, das ist gültig heute.
Nur heute.
Heute habe ich nicht Zeit.
No, I say, komm zu dem.
Jetzt gerade.
Das ist ein bisschen spontan. Danke vielmals.
Jetzt müsst ihr einfach um den Zug.
Okay. Tun Sie mit meinem Chef reden?
Ja, da mal doch geschwind anrufen. Das ist nicht so wichtig mit dem Chef.
Ist gut.
044.
446.
Zimmermann, der kommt heute Nachmittag nicht in die Schule. Dann kann ich auf dich rechnen.
Ich weiß es nicht.
Das ist mit Kinderkrippe da. In einer Viertelstunde fährt der Zug. Das lange gerade noch.
Also, wir bis nachher.
Ja, dann kommen die.
Ja, ist gut.
Bis nachher.
Also, wir kommen.
Hey, super. Ja, das ist super.
Tschüss.
Hey, ciao. Ja, hallo. Hey, willkommen.
Hallo, danke.
Gut reisen.
Ja?
Ja, das ist gut.
I mean, I think that could only work in Switzerland. I don't want to be rude about the Swiss, but they clearly had nothing better to do that day than go up the mountain, which is fairly extraordinary. But again, just I think a great graphic demonstration of just somebody having an extraordinary idea and saying, what if we did that? What if we actually did that? What would happen? And just seeing the reaction that you create in that station and seeing the newsworthiness, if you like, which again is something which I think in advertising we're always trying to create. We're always trying to create something that is genuinely innovative, genuinely different, and I think that met that criteria. So, talk about creativity last, my last kind of section, is just to really challenge all of you as you're thinking about these, to say, how would you, for your brand, for your clients, with your particular marketing challenge, how might you be able to do something using the technology, using the fact that not only does this format have all of the traditional benefits of out-of-home, mass reach, mass audience, public place, all of those things I talked about at the beginning, but also gives you this digital canvas, this, if you like, this giant iPad. How do you do that? What could you do with it? And this first one is a particular favorite of mine because this client, Apotek, in Sweden, have shown not just creativity, but also a willingness to kind of engage with the medium, which has enabled them to do some very special things. At our workshop earlier today, we showed an ad which has done the rounds of pretty much every award show going over the last few years, which is the girl in the railway station, and when the train comes in, her hair blows with a motion sensor, and you see the effect of the beautiful shampoo that she's used. And it's a very nice, simple, great creative idea. This is their latest work, which we call the coughing billboard. Take a look at this one.
Hej! Apotek Hjärtat här. Vi finns för att du ska kunna leva ett längre, friskare liv. Det är därför jag är här. För att lagom till det nya året hjälpa dig skaffa nya, hälsosammare vanor. Vi har utrustat den här digitala skärmen med rökdetektorer. Sen placerar vi den här, där folk röker mycket. Och varje gång någon tänder en cigarett. Ja, du fattar.
Like all the best advertising ideas, that's a really simple one, and like all of the best advertising ideas, it's one that I look at and think, I wish I'd thought of that, and I've never thought of doing that. And the only way that came about was by client, agency, and the media owner, Clear Channel, sitting in a room together, brainstorming and thinking about the kind of what if, or just suppose, or imagine if we could do that, and then finding a way to do it. Not expensive to do it, really quite simple, actually. And I think producing, again, memorable, engaging, crowd-stopping advertising. On a very different scale, on a very, very different scale, here is a piece of work from our colleagues in New York for American Standard in Times Square. If I can get it to play. No, can we go back? Nope, all you're going to get is our logo. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to show you that one. Oh, it's can. Thank you.
An incredible experience partnering with Clear Channel and our agency, the Thorburn Group. They did an incredible job of working on some billboards for us here in Times Square. We've got digital boards that have a bit of a performance art and our products and an incredible crowdsourcing opportunity.
It's cool to be on the screen so everybody can see you. We took a couple Snapchats.
Yeah, we Snapchatted. We'll probably add it to Instagram.
Yeah.
Times Square, New York today, celebrating the art of bathing with American Standard. We have brought some of our products to life here. We've got 3 bathrooms set up and having karaoke contests, inviting people to sing in the shower and in the bathtub. It is really magical for our brand to be able to come to life like this in a stage like Times Square in New York. It's incredible. It's like the window of the world, and we're able to put our products out there on the stage.
It's a great, powerful use, again, of all of the different digital opportunities that we can provide. It also works on a very simple, basic instinct, which is that Americans absolutely love seeing themselves on giant screens. We have a cam on one of our giant boards in Times Square, which, when we're not showing an ad, just shows the crowd in Times Square. Watching people waving at that screen, see themselves on it, is it's an extraordinary sight. So there's obviously something very powerful about just that simple sense of allowing the consumer to be part of the advertising. I want to end with, again, a very highly creative idea, I think, just in terms of its power and its impact. But I think what this one also shows is the way in which out-of-home advertising is in itself becoming more creative in the way that it uses screen technology. And we are very proud of our standard formats, obviously. We're very proud of a 2 square meter sign like the ones that we have in Madrid and Barcelona. But we're also very proud of some of the amazing installations that we've created that allow brands to own a space and create a brand experience. And this is from the biggest shopping mall in France, in La Défense, just outside Paris. And this is for Sephora. I don't think you need to do a huge amount of brand attribution or advertising attribution surveys to find out that anybody in that area that day had a pretty strong memory of that advertising. High impact. It would be very difficult to be one of those people going down that escalator and not recall that advertising. Stunning visuals, high impact, beautiful use of the technology. And I think that really is ultimately the creative challenge. So I hope I've given you at least some idea of some of the possibilities. As I say, whether or not, whether you're just using one simple 2 square meter screen and thinking about how you might use some limited motion on that, or use some kind of time of day appropriateness or location specificity, or whether you're going to do something on a grand scale and do something that is truly interactive or truly engaging or some very special stunt, the opportunities are honestly as limitless as your own imaginations. So think about it, create, think the impossible, think the unthinkable, and we'd love to be part of creating the next part. Interesting. The next stage of that out-of-home revolution, because truly this is about the oldest medium of them all. This is a cave painting where hunters used to draw pictures of the wild animals that they'd killed in order to attract other customers to give them opportunities to go and kill animals. That is truly where my medium began, becoming absolutely the newest medium of them all, a medium that is attracting new advertisers and new opportunities in a way that it never did before. So I really appreciate your attention. I hope you have a fantastic conference. Think great, great creative ideas and truly be part of this out-of-home revolution. Thank you very much.